Welcome to Talk Me Healthy. My name is Scherrie, founder, Diabetes Care Consulting. The goal of Talk Me Healthy is to provide you education on how to live your best life every day starting today. Each show will bring a different health-related topic and exciting guests to share their expertise, passion, and personal stories. My hope is you will hear something that motivates you to make a small step towards living a healthier, happier life. Welcome back to Talk Me Healthy. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have an exciting show for you today. We have my good friend Maria Milagros. Maria is an incredible motivational speaker, the founder of her new company, Maria Milagros, and she's here today to talk about her journey and some transformational information on self-love. So Maria, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. This
you're
is so
welcome.
Exciting.
So tell us about that journey. I know a little bit about your journey, but I think the viewers would really understand where you are today from where you came from.
Okay. So my journey actually started a few years ago. I kept having this pull to start my own company, and it's scary, right? That's a scary thing to
Very
step out on your
scary.
own and to start your own company. And then at the end of last year, you know, sometimes life kind of kicks you in the face, right? So there I was, and I had a decision to make. Either I was going to do the thing that I've been called to do all along, or keep trying to find a job working for someone else. And I finally decided it was time to start my own company. And throughout all of my jobs, everything that I've ever done in terms of my career so far, the things that I've loved to do the most were to talk, to do motivational speaking, to teach workshops and seminars, to help people really do the work to understand how to take responsibility for their lives, to live to their fullest, and one-on-one coaching. So I decided that it was time to start my company, and those were going to be the three things that I would focus on. Motivational speaking for me helps me reach the masses. Workshops and seminars helps me reach groups, and then the one-on-one coaching helps me reach the individual. So it's like the big, the small, and the small. Yeah.
So why Maria Milagros for your company name?
That is my name. My name is Maria Milagros Vasquez, and my middle name Milagros actually means miracle. And I ran from that name for a really long time. And when I decided to start my company, I realized that I'm the miracle, you're the miracle, you're the miracle, everyone's the miracle. We all have in us gifts, talents to impact the world for the better. And so it only felt like the right thing to do to actually use my name, Maria Milagros, as the name for my company.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
So what has your company been doing since, I know you started in January, we met at a chamber meeting.
Yes.
And when you spoke, I knew I needed to get to know you better and that you had an important message to share with so many people.
Thank you.
So what has your company been doing to impact the lives of others?
I've been holding workshops on my own, smaller workshops, especially on loving yourself. My platform is on loving gratitude. I've also been doing workshops and talks for different schools and agencies during the week. And then on the weekends, I usually hold my own workshops or events that people can attend or join.
So let's talk about self-love. I had the privilege of attending one of your Loving Yourself workshops last month. Amazing.
Thank you.
You are amazing. You inspire, and you leave there transformed. You can't not leave there transformed.
Thank you. I'm so, that really humbles me. Because, again, it just reminds me that this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You are supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
So tell us about self-love.
Okay. So it's such a grand topic, right? And when we think about self-love on its most simplistic level, when babies are born, they're born loving. And just all they know is to love themselves and to get their needs met and to give love in return. It's through the course of our lives that the events that we experience and the people in our lives or the media or the world tells us that we shouldn't love ourselves. We're not good enough. We're not worthy enough. We're not strong enough. We're not whatever enough. And during the course of time, we start to believe that. And then as adults, we get to a place where we don't know who we are. We compare ourselves to other people. We're constantly feeling like we're in competition. We're holding on to unforgiveness. We're lacking gratitude. You know, there are all these things, and they really stem from this lack of self-love. And I worked at the Worcester House of Correction. I've worked at schools. I've worked at the Department of Public Health. And all of the people that I've worked with, I recognize that at the core, the very core of their issues is a lack of self-love. really not loving yourself fully and recognizing that you are deserving and worthy of all the greatness that life has to offer, that you are here on purpose with a purpose. And so when people lack that, then they really find that they're running into all these other problems. And when we remedy that thing and we start to do the work intentionally to fix that, everything else will start to line itself up. It has no choice but to, because we're operating from a place of love, connecting to something greater, and then fully loving who we are in ourselves.
So that's a big process. It's not something that happens overnight.
No, I wish.
So where does somebody begin?
Great question. Someone has to begin first. It's like any other program. You have to begin with identifying that you really do lack self-love, because we can't rectify what we don't identify. So when they fully say, okay, yes, I recognize that I do compare myself to other people all the time, or I do feel like I'm in competition, even though they don't know we're having a competition, or I can't leave my house without looking like a certain, putting on a certain outfit or makeup or hair, or, you can't just run to the supermarket because somebody might see you. All of those little things really contribute to a lack of self-love, as well as not going in and asking for the raise that you deserve, or saying to someone that you're in a relationship with, I deserve better. You should be treating me better, right? Because we teach people how to treat us. So all of that stems from self-love. And when you recognize that and you finally have that aha moment, then you have to be willing to intentionally do the work every single day. And I want to be clear, it's not something that happens once and then magic wand or fairy dust and sparkly everything. That's not real, right? There's this great quote by Zig Ziglar where he says, motivation doesn't last daily, but neither does showering. That's why we recommend it every day, right?
That's
so
a great quote.
It's something that we recommend every day. You have to be intentional about being grateful, about forgiving, about loving yourself first and foremost, because you can't give what you don't have, right? So I like to say, if someone came to me and asked me to borrow $100 and all I have is 10, I really am giving you everything that I have. So we can only really love others to the degree by which we can really truly love ourselves. So we can only really give the 10. That's all I have. We deserve to be living with the 100, but all I have is the 10. That's all I can give is the 10. So
that's a lot of work, a lot of time, and it's intentional, as you say, and people's lives are so busy. How does one make that time to do that work? Because there's a lot of barriers, and a lot of people don't want to deal with the pain.
Yes.
Because I know there's a lot of pain associated with that kind of work.
Yes.
So how would you advise someone to make the time and that it would be worth the pain?
Yes. Great questions. So I want to address time first and foremost, because everyone has the exact same 24 hours. And there are some people, I know a woman, she's a mother of 4, she works full time, and she's a personal trainer, and she's got a goal to, compete. How does she have the time to manage her house and to do that? Because she recognizes what her priorities are. And people always say, I don't have enough time. Well, if you got time for Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, just saying, you got time.
It's how you use your time.
It's how you use your time, and it has to be a priority for you, because we always make room for priorities. People who need to watch their TV show on Thursday night at 9 will schedule their lives around their TV show at Thursday night at 9. So it has to become something that you say, this has to be something on my mandate list, right? And so for me personally, I am a single mom, and my life is busy, and I'm running a company, and I have a big family, and I'm trying to do a bunch of things. I teach dance part-time. How do I fit this in? I have to make it intentional. As soon as I wake up, first thing in the morning, my feet hit the floor, the first thing I do is commit time to my self-love. That has to happen. And for people who are finding that it's really hard to deal with the pain, you're not on the planet alone. We don't have these experiences in a silo. We are not just alone, not in our experiences, but also not on the planet, right? So reach out. Find a friend that you can trust. Get a therapist. Go see your pastor. I don't know. There's a way to connect with another human to ask them to help carry the heaviness of what you're dealing with, because you don't have to experience it alone.
It brings up a lot. It can bring up a lot of pain, and it can throw your life upside down.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that's a fear
of
people getting to that self-love or going down that journey, because of that pain.
Yes.
That they've blocked that pain.
Yes.
And they don't want to deal with that pain. And so to ask someone to go through that process opens a lot of doors that are challenging to walk through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then to do it every day after day after day.
And it does get easier when you start the process. Initially, it is really hard. But this is what I tell my coaching clients. You have two options. You can either stay where you are, miserable and stuck and unfulfilled and lacking love, or really push yourself. Go through the pain, recognizing that on the other side is going to be something really amazing. And it's like short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. You could stay in this place forever.
Right.
Sure, absolutely. Go ahead and do that. But then don't constantly complain about how miserable your life is because you're choosing, as an adult, you get to choose to stay there. Or you take responsibility for your life. You recognize that this is going to take some work and it's going to hurt and it's going to suck. And then you're going to get through it because there are going to be people who love you and support you and who are around you. And there are ways to develop, new mandates and rituals for your life. And once you start doing it repeatedly, it gets easier. And then you legitimately get to a place where it's no longer second nature. It is your nature to be happy. It is your nature to find things that are fun. It is your nature. I meet people all the time. And when I tell them even a small chunk of my story, they say, how is that possible? How are you so happy? Because I did the work. And like you said, it doesn't happen overnight. It took years, but I needed to do it because I recognized that I could either stay over here and be miserable, or I could fight through it, recognize that I'm resilient, recognize that I have gifts and talents, recognize that I believe that, I wouldn't have more on my plate than I could handle. I'm going to get through this. And then once I got to the other side, the grass is really greener over there. It really is, but we have to do the work and we have to be willing to fight through it because that's the only way to get to the other side.
And plus, if you're carrying all this, we'll call it baggage, if you're carrying all of this pain, this baggage, then it really affects your health.
Yes.
And I know me as being a cancer survivor, I had a lot of anger and bitterness at the situation. I happened to get divorced during that very difficult time. And the pain was unbearable.
Yeah.
And I couldn't forgive for many, many years.
Yes.
And until someone explained to me that I'm not forgiving for them, I'm forgiving for me to move forward.
That's right.
And I think that's something that, it doesn't mean that I agree with what that person did was right. I'm not giving them permission and saying, you did the right thing. I'm forgiving you because I can't move forward until, and I think people need to understand that. It took me 5 years to understand that.
Yeah.
And every now and then it will sneak back in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
But I have to just keep saying, nope, I forgive you. I'm moving forward because I need to do that to grow as a person, to grow spiritually. And so when I went to your class, it kind of cropped up again.
Yeah.
And I think I will come back, but now you have the tools.
Yes.
That you provide through your workshops. And the more you work this process, the more tools that you have, say, in your tool bag to deal with this when it does crop back up, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And forgiveness is very difficult to do.
I just want to touch on the tools really quickly. And when we start to use them, I like to compare it to working out, right? When you first start exercising, it's so hard and you're so sore and you feel like either you're going to throw up or you're going to die, right? And sometimes you do throw up.
I remember that feeling.
Yeah. And sometimes you do, in fact, throw up, but you don't, in fact, die. And then you go through the soreness and you have a couple of days and then you work out again and then it's sore. And as the more you work out, the stronger the muscle becomes and the less sore you are. Sometimes you do a workout, even if you work out continuously, and you find that you're sore again. How did I get back here? I'm used to working out. Well, you've triggered that muscle in a different way or something else happened, but your recovery time is faster because your muscles are conditioned.
Yeah.
The forgiveness muscle is like that, right? The more you work it, it's going to come back because you're human and it's going to pop up and something's going to trigger it. But then each time you practice it and use that tool, your recovery time is shorter.
Right.
And you find that rather than hold on to it for a week, you just hold on to it for a couple of days and then it's just a couple of hours and then literally it becomes 3 minutes. Like this thing popped up, I thought about it for a couple minutes, I felt some kind of way about it, and then I realized, nope, that has no place here. I dealt with that, I forgave that person, and I'm letting it go and I'm moving on. And then you legitimately let it go and move on. But you have to start doing the work.
Yeah.
Right? You have to start working it in order to get to that place. And you're absolutely right. Forgiveness is, I like to say, when you don't forgive someone or yourself, you bind yourself with chains. And imagine literally walking through life with chains. You're heavy, you're weighed down. It does something to your mental health, emotional, your physical health, your spiritual health. And it's just holding you down. When you finally decide, I'm done with carrying all this excess, not for you. You may never apologize. And I have to be okay with the fact that you may never apologize. I'm cutting all these chains because I deserve to live a life without this excess weight.
Because it's really a lot of times their baggage that you're taking on. It's not a lot of times like when I had that situation with my cancer and my marriage, it wasn't my baggage.
That's right.
But it was the other person's baggage, but I took it as my own.
Yes.
And taking it as my own, I took on all of that, and then it really affected my emotional, spiritual, and physical health. And that's where a lot of chronic disease comes in.
Yes.
Is because your immune system is affected, and then that allows your body to be more predisposed to having medical problems.
Right.
And so this forgiveness is not just emotional, but it really affects your whole physical being.
Yes.
So when you say do the work, if somebody's out there listening, they say, okay, I'm hearing what you're saying. How do I begin doing the work? Like, and what work is it that I have to do?
Okay. So the first and most powerful thing that you can do to help take the blocks away from self-love is forgiveness, right? It's forgiveness of self, and it's forgiveness of others. And that, I know that sounds really, really difficult. And a lot of people will say, well, they don't deserve my forgiveness.
I've said that.
Yeah,
many times.
Right. And it's like, okay, so what's the intent of holding on to it, and how's that working for you?
No, it wasn't working well.
It's not working at all.
No.
Because like you said, when you're holding on to unforgiveness and that stress, your body increases cortisol.
Yes.
Cortisol destroys your immune system.
That's right.
Everything goes bad when you have high levels of cortisol. So it's really not worth holding on to for them. They're not being punished.
No, they're just going about living their life.
Exactly.
And they're happy, and you're back there getting sick from all the internal turmoil that you have going on in your life.
Yes. And so we have to just finally make that decision and say, like you said, I'm not forgiving them for them. I'm forgiving them for me. And you opened up by talking about my journey. And I always try to recognize that everyone is on their journey. And if I really think about the people who wronged me, right, and where they were in their lives, and if I had to live that life in those shoes the way that they did and deal with what they dealt with, I can't honestly say I wouldn't have made those same choices. Because I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, not just for empathy, but really for perspective. So when we recognize that really most people are doing the best they can with what they know how. And sometimes that means I lack self-love, so I need to break you. Because hurt people will hurt people.
Yes.
Broken people will break people. So they were looking for power and control in a way that made them feel like this is love. Because they don't have it. So instead I say, okay, that person lacks self-love. I need to forgive them for me, not for them.
Right.
I need to cut those chains so I'm not dealing with the heaviness of that. And now I'm going to pray for them. That somebody plants a seed or water or something to provide them with an opportunity for self-love so that they don't continue to do that and create a havoc of, like a trail of broken hearts and broken people on their journey in search of self-love. So the first thing really does have to be forgiveness. And it just starts with saying out loud, I forgive you for blah, blah, blah.
I actually confronted the person.
Oof.
It took a long time.
Yeah.
But I had an opportunity, and I ran into him somewhere, and I literally walked up to him, and he said hello to me, and I said, hello, I forgive you. And he looked at me like, wow. And he started crying.
Yeah.
And so, but it was so freeing
Yes.
for me. I had been wanting to do that for so long, and I had an opportunity, and I did it. And I just felt like, wow, a door closed.
Yeah.
I closed the door of all that pain, and I was able to move forward.
That's wonderful.
And it was amazing. I was so scared.
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm going to do it now. But I just had to speak the words. And because I had practiced the words many, many times, but I never had the opportunity to actually look at the person in the eyes and tell them how much pain they caused me, and yet say, I forgive you.
And release them.
Yes.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
And so later on, I got a message from them saying that I had no idea how much pain I caused you. And I'm wondering, after you said that, when you had to walk in their shoes, so to speak, that they didn't realize how much pain that they caused you.
Right.
You know, because sometimes maybe they just go about doing these things and they never really, no one ever says to them, do you realize how much pain that you caused?
Right.
Until someone is bold enough to go and do that.
Right. Right.
And so I hope that he took from that and was able to look, you know, at his own self-love in his process so that he could move forward.
Yeah.
But it's a hard thing to do, but it was amazing. Like, I felt so good. Like, I was like skipping to the car. It was like, that's awesome. I'm so happy now. I can just close that door.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So we've forgiven the person. We've forgiven ourselves, because a lot of times we take on guilt.
Yes.
And we think it's our fault.
Yes.
Oh,
and
it's
we own
my
it.
fault.
Yes.
It's my fault this happened to me. If I hadn't have done this, or I hadn't have been there, or it's my fault.
Yeah.
So then next, you have to forgive the person, but you have to really forgive yourself too.
Absolutely.
Because we're human.
Yes.
And maybe part of it was
harder.
our problem. Mm-hmm. And maybe none of it was, or maybe all of it was.
Right.
But we still have to forgive ourselves, because that's part of the forgiveness process, right?
Right. Right. And it's the harder part of the process, because I find that a lot of people will say it's easier for me to forgive them, but I can't forgive myself for the mistakes that I made, the people that I hurt, the things, the issues that I've caused. Okay, but when you were in that moment, did you know better? And 90% of the time, they really didn't.
Right.
They really thought that what they were doing was the right thing, or that they were, you know, causing someone else pain because they needed that person to understand how they felt. And okay, but that's what you really thought needed to happen. So again, you have to recognize that that was a part of your journey, and you have to forgive yourself and let it go, because if you don't, you're going to keep carrying those chains with you everywhere you go. And if you know better now, do better.
Right, exactly. Don't make the same mistake again. Yeah.
Right. And Maya Angelou, she has this quote where she says, I'm paraphrasing, she says something along the lines of, most people, when they know better, they do better, right? Which I really believe.
Yeah.
And so you didn't know better. Forgive yourself and just move on. And if you did know better and you did it anyways, there was still a core reason why you did that thing, right? You were looking for love in all the wrong places, or you made a bad decision because you were looking for something from a lack of self-love.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we've forgiven ourselves and we've forgiven the person.
Yes.
What's the next step of the process?
The second thing is gratitude. Oh, we lack gratitude. We spend so much time complaining about what we don't have and what we should have, or what we need to have to make our lives better.
What we're entitled to have.
Oh, what we're entitled. Don't even get me started on what we think we're entitled to have. And I think, I know, gratitude, scientifically speaking, is the number one way to increase productivity, reduce stress, improve your health, take on the responsibilities and your tasks to achieve your goals, like gratitude, right? So when you hear people say this attitude of gratitude, it's not fairy dust. It's work.
Oh.
We have to get up again every morning. I wake up, thank you, I have a bed. Because I was once homeless. So I know what it is to have a bed. I have so many pillows on my bed that there are extra on the floor. Right? Like, we forget that we live in a place of excess. We complain we don't have enough clothes, but we have closets and drawers filled with clothes.
Yes.
Well, I don't have this, I don't have that. There's not one person that I know who has one pair of shoes.
Exactly.
Right? We have so much stuff. We have indoor plumbing. We have running water. We have these things that we take for granted every day. And if you don't have a car, you have legs to walk. There are so many people who don't have that. If you have, people say, oh, my car, my muffler. You have a car.
Right.
There are so many people who don't have a car. My roof has a hole in it. You have a home. Like, we spend so much time complaining and whining about what we don't have. We don't take enough inventory of what is great, including, like, people will say, I can't stand my cell phone bill. It's so high. How often are you on that cell phone? Most of your day. You spend more hours probably on your phone than doing anything else. And yet you're complaining that you have to pay for the service? Like, let's think about that for a moment. Someone's providing you with a service that you don't have to pay for until the end of the month. That's a blessing, if you ask me. Right?
That's right.
And we're constantly complaining. I could complain to the end of time about my heat and electric bill, but when I get home, I can turn on my heat. My daughter's not in a cold place. They don't know me, really, and they're just saying, we're going to provide you with heat and expect that you're going to pay it at the end of the month. We trust you, stranger. Thank you for trusting me. Gratitude.
Right.
Right? And there are so many things that people have to start recognizing, that they have to just be grateful for the little things and the big things.
And you can turn a negative statement into a positive statement.
Yes.
So give us some examples.
Yes. So when we think about even like problems, I always tell people, is it really a problem or is it an opportunity? Because even problems can be seen as opportunities to use our gifts, talents, our community, our resources to solve something, right? Thank goodness someone said, we need a better phone. That person happened to be Steve Jobs, and he created the iPhone. What other people saw was, oh, big problem. Our phones are bad. He said, not a problem, an opportunity, right? And so it's these types of things that we can then say, this is not the worst thing ever. So thinking about this, something more personal, here's a story about my own daughter. And she gives me permission to use her stories. She's only 10, but at the time she was 6. And I was bringing her to visit with her father, and our meet point was an hour away. So we were on our way there, and we were about 10 minutes from the drop point.
I love the story.
Yeah, we were about 10 minutes from the drop point, and he calls and says he's not going to make it. What do you mean you're not going to make it? We're 10 minutes away. Don't do this to her. No, I'm not going to make it. Something came up. I have to go. Well, you need to tell her. No, I can't tell her. It's going to hurt her feelings. You tell her. And he hangs up on me. What? So I try to call him back. I go to voicemail. So I have to tell her because we're 10 minutes away. She's going to notice Mommy's got off the highway, got back on the highway, right? I can't fake it that I never dropped you off.
Right.
So I have to tell her, baby girl, I'm so sorry, but your dad's not going to be able to make it today. And, something came up and he's not going to be able to see you today. And she sat right behind me and I could see her little face in the rearview mirror. And she said, what? And it just like, there's my heart, right? Because I can't fix this.
Right.
And I feel hopeless.
And as a mom, we want to fix everything.
Right. And as a mom, like, I want to save her. And I said, maybe we can call him later. And she says, Mom, right now, I just need to be sad. And then she started crying. And she sat there and she cried and she covered herself in tissues and boogers and, just wads of tissue everywhere.
But that's okay.
Yes.
You have to mourn.
She sat there and she cried and she said she needed to be sad. Okay. So then about 10 minutes, she's done crying and she says, Mom, what's good about this? And I'll never forget that because I almost went off the highway. I was so shocked by this statement. What's good about this? Here's a 6-year-old who was left by her father, right? This could be a potentially traumatic event. And it has been for a lot of people. This abandonment of a parent. And her perspective is, I need to process this. And then what's good about this? Well, on the weekends, you get to sleep in my bed. Oh, yes, I love sleeping in your bed. And then she's like, oh, and there's a cat, and I love petting my cat, and I could spend more time with the cat. And, oh, can we get a movie tonight? It's usually on Fridays we do a movie night. Can we pop some popcorn? Can we invite over? And then she proceeds to list all of these great reasons why it's okay, and she gets to stay home and how much fun she's going to have at home. And on the ride, I realized as she's listening, for the rest of the ride home, a good 45 minutes, she's listing these things. And the whole ride home, I thought, how amazing are our own children to reteach us and retrain us.
Exactly.
And she taught me that when you're sad and you're feeling negative emotions, sit in them.
Yeah, it's okay.
Process them. You need to.
Right.
When you stuff them down and deny them, you're going to cause yourself more problems, right? And then you get to ask, what's good about this? Because there's always something good. And if you don't know and you can't figure it out on your own, tap into a friend. She said, Mom, I know there's something good, but I just don't know what it is. I need you to help me. We're here on this planet to contribute and to help each other. Call a friend. Call someone you know and trust and say, here's my situation. And I already processed it and it sucks, but I'm ready to move out, out of that place because I'm not going to buy real estate and pitch a house there, right? I'm ready to move on with my journey. Okay, but I need your help. What's good about this? And then tap into that place of gratitude. Find all of the reasons that are good because there are going to be problems. Right. Bad things are going to happen. That is real. You're alive. You're human. That's part of the living experience. But you don't have to stay there. And we can find out what's good about this and then quantify those and live in that place.
Well, it's funny because when I share my story about my cancer, I say it was the worst time of my life, but it was the best time of my life. Because of my cancer, I am the person I am today. I have an incredible husband. I have been blessed to see 3 more grandchildren being born, pin my son's police badge on him.
Yeah.
So that was such the darkest time of my life, but yet incredible things came out of that.
Right. And it taught you
it was unbelievable
how resilient you are.
Absolutely.
It taught you how capable you are, which then you used to start your own company.
Yes.
And you said, if I could do that,
I can do this.
I can do anything.
I always compare it to cancer. If I come across, because our paths are not straight in life.
That's right.
They go down this road, they go down that road, they go down this road. So whenever you're going down a side road that you didn't plan, what my answer to that is, well, it's not cancer.
That's right.
And if I can beat cancer, I can totally do this.
That's right.
And so you just have to be resilient.
That's right.
And
we are.
Right.
We are resilient.
We are.
Yes, we are.
As humans, we are, because we do endure a lot. I don't think there's anyone out there who's had, like we always dream we're going to get married, we're going to have we're looking through life through the rose-colored glasses, and it really isn't like that. So I'm sure everybody has had a moment in their life that they've had to go through something.
Yes.
And what I've learned through my spiritual walk is that they call those times a test, and because of that, you have a testimony that you can share with other people and affect change in their lives as well.
That's right.
So I have many testimonies.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
Yes. And these stories help impact and change the world. It reminds us that we're not alone.
Yes, that's
It
right.
reminds us that we're connected. It reminds us that we have gifts, talents, that I can use yours. Listen, you're not me and I'm not you. That will never be the case. But thank God, right? Because now I can tap into you and the gifts that you have, and you can tap into me and the gifts that I have, and him and her, and so on and so forth. That's how we're designed, really, to live on this planet.
Yeah.
Right? And we use these stories of resilience, and we say, you know what? Yeah, that moment sucked, but I didn't stay there.
Right.
And because I didn't stay there, I got to see all of this over here on the other side. And if I can do it, so can you.
That's
and if
right.
you can do it, so can they, and so on and so forth, right? Because we're all made of the same stuff.
That's right.
Yeah, we're
That's
all made
right.
of the same stuff.
So, this is so awesome. So we've forgiven
Yes.
ourselves and the person.
Yes.
And now we've found positive. We've changed our negatives into positives.
Yes, gratitude.
Now what do we have to do?
So the third thing that I always recommend, and this is something that I teach in everything that I do, is affirmations. The power of the affirmation cannot be underestimated. One of my favorite books says that the power of life and death is in the tongue, right? So the things that we say out loud actually create the lives around us. If we say over and over something, we believe it and then we become it.
That's right.
So what we need to do is stop repeating the lies, whether in our thoughts or out loud, the things that we grew up hearing or the world told us that we should or shouldn't be, and rather fully accept who we are and who we're becoming. And then we repeat those things over and over. So when we do affirmation statements, we say things like, I am beautiful. Even if you don't fully believe it, you start to say it. Because what's going to eventually happen is you're going to believe it, and then you're going to become it, right? I am beautiful. I am intelligent. I am creative, right? And there's three main things when you do affirmations. One, they should always be in the first person. I am, I have. Okay. They should always be present tense, as if it already exists. Even if you don't believe in this moment, I am beautiful, you have to say it now in order for it to be real later.
Okay.
So you say, I am beautiful right now in this moment. I am perfect right now. I am kind. If you're not kind and you're working on it, that's okay. If that's an affirmation that you're calling for yourself, you have to start declaring it now in order for it to manifest itself later. So you want them to be in the first person, you want them to be present, and they should always, always, always be in the positive tense, right? When I work with like fitness people, they say things like, I won't snack after 10 p.m. Well, the subconscious doesn't know words like can't or won't or never. So if you take that word out, what the subconscious hears is, I snack at 10 p.m., right? So it's just reinforcing that behavior. So you have to make it a positive statement, and the statement should be something like, I make healthy choices with my food. Current, I, present, make healthy choices with my food. And you, again, even if it's not true, you make that statement 10 times, then you go eat a bag of Doritos. But at least you're making the statement, because once you start to believe it, then you start to become it.
Well, it's funny. I had a patient who I would say every morning, good morning. We'll call him Joe. Good morning, Joe, and how are you? And he would give me this long list of things that were wrong. But then I noticed one day he came in and I said, good morning, Joe, and how are you? And he said, I am fantastic. And I'm like, wow, you're fantastic. What happened between yesterday and today that you are fantastic?
Yeah.
And he just said, I'm fantastic. And then I noticed every day he came in and he would say the same thing, I am fantastic.
Yes.
So, and this happened for like weeks and months. And finally I took him aside and I said, can you tell me like what happened? Like, every day you'd come in and you were depressed and all this anger, and then you started flipping the switch, and then now you're fantastic, and now I truly believe you are fantastic.
Yes.
And I think you believe that because I see a total demeanor and change in your face and your facial expressions and just your whole attitude about life. And he said, because you know what? He said, because I listened to myself one day. And the same thing happened to me too. I listened to myself one day, and I realized I couldn't even stand to hear myself anymore.
Yes.
And I thought, wow, if I can't stand to hear myself, then I bet Joe and Susie and Michael can't stand to hear myself either. And so I said, if I start saying that I'm fantastic, I'm going to believe it, and totally different person.
Yes.
And the same thing when I had cancer, I was in such a dark place when my divorce happened that I was living like I was dying. And I would talk about death, and I was giving everything away, and I would say when I die and all of this. And then one day I had the aha moment. Actually, my doctor helped me with that aha moment. He said, you're going to die because of your attitude.
Yes.
And faster than you're going to die of this cancer. And I thought, well, how dare you? You're not living in my shoes. But then it hit me that he is absolutely right. That the words that I was speaking totally dictated how I was feeling and how I was being perceived by other people.
Yes.
So when I stopped living as if I was dying and speaking the words of negativism, and changed my attitude, wow.
Yes.
My life changed dramatically.
Yes. And it literally, because if we think about the subconscious as like the government, right? And there are 40 trillion cells in your body. And if you think about those 40 trillion cells as the people and the government. So if the government is saying, we're miserable, it's horrible, everything, the 40 trillion cells are like, all right, everything's miserable, everything's horrible. Yeah. Disease, come on in. That contributes to the misery and the, how horrible everything is. Stress, come on in. Yeah, that contributes to the horrible, because we want to fulfill what the government said, right? If the government starts saying, I'm fantastic, the 40 trillion cells are like, oh, we didn't know we were fantastic. All right, now we got to switch the game. And then you start looking for things that actually contribute to being fantastic. And you actually start changing. Your physiology will literally change to the fact that you are now fantastic.
And people will want to be around you.
Yes.
And you will start to impact other people.
Yes.
They'll be like, wow, she's in a horrible situation, but wow, look at how happy she is. There's something that she has. I want to know what it is.
Yes.
And then they start asking questions, and the dialogue opens up.
Yes.
And then it reaches more people.
Yes.
And then it changes multiple people. It ripples.
Yes. Yes, yes.
And that's what you're doing with your company.
Yes. I loved when you said ripples, because I always talk about the ripple effects, because every decision that we make, whether we realize it or not, creates an impact. And every word that comes out of our mouths creates an impact, right? Because what affects us affects you, affects everybody around.
That's right.
We all know someone that before they even get to the place, if they are always in a bad mood, you have to get yourself ready for them to become. Yeah, like
I might cancel.
You might cancel. Somebody's coming and you just, oh Lord, they're coming. Okay, I have to get myself ready because they're so miserable all the time. They're so exhausting.
And it's draining.
And then they walk into the room and it's like, right? Then there are people who when they're coming, even if their life is upside down,
they're going to be happy.
They're in a good mood, and you get excited thinking about their presence because what we are saying creates an energy, and that energy moves out of us and creates a dynamic. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's how I felt about you when I met you for the first
Thank you.
time.
I felt the same way about you. I'm like her right there.
I know. I need to get to know this girl. So that's really the three key parts of self-love.
Yes.
Is we forgive. We forgive ourselves, and we forgive those that have hurt us.
Yes.
And then we begin to appreciate and be thankful and grateful for what we have. And then we affirm by changing our negative thoughts into positive thoughts.
Yes. And then speaking them out loud.
And speaking them out loud.
Yes.
Not just thinking them, but speaking them.
That's right.
And
we're going to have negative thoughts. That's going to happen. Yeah. And as soon as it does, you cannot, scientifically speaking, have a thought and talk at the same time. So what you do is you have this negative thought, and if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I look horrible, I'm so ugly, the second you think that thought, you have to say out loud, I am beautiful. I look good. Check me out. Look at yourself in the mirror like, oh, yeah, you.
Now,
right
some
to
people
yourself.
would think that's being conceited.
See, and this is. I love that you brought this up, because this is a great point when it comes to self-love. A lot of times people think self-love sounds selfish.
Well, that's what, when you said that, it's like, oh yeah, I look beautiful today. I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty a conceited thought, as some people would think.
Right, and it's conceited to people who don't fully understand self-love. Now, am I walking around in the world going, I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful, no, that's arrogant. But to myself, I look at myself and I get to say to myself, you're beautiful. Just the way you are. You don't need to look like her or act like her or have her hair or straighten this or cover your freckles or do any of the things that people are telling you have to do. Just the way you are, Maria, you are beautiful. Now take that into the world. That's a very different confidence than it is walking around like, everybody look at me, I'm so beautiful, right? That's arrogance. Those are different. And self-love, I want to be clear that self-love is not selfish. As a mom, one of the hardest things I had to learn was that I have to hit the pause button on my life. The dishes can wait. You know, sometimes things can wait. I have to do for me. And for me, that means I have to work out or I have to spend some time meditating or praying or whatever it is that I feel like I need to do to center myself. When I do and I take time for myself because I love myself, I'm a better mother. I'm a better employer. I'm a better employee. I'm a better daughter, sister, cousin, whatever. I'm a better human because I'm not expecting them to fill me up. I'm taking responsibility. I'm loving on myself, and then I'm giving you from my overflow, right? I'm keeping my cup full and I'm giving from my overflow. And too many people say, oh, well, self-love, you know, it's selfish. No, there's a difference. Selfish is, I'm going to leave the baby and go take a nap. No, you don't do that. Self-love means I have responsibilities, but I recognize that when I need to take the time for me, I have to take the time for me so that I can be better for you, right? Selfishness is me. Self-love is me, then you.
To make you better.
So I can do for you. Because if I'm running myself into the ground, I'm good to no one.
A lot of people do. I mean, I'm guilty of that at times too. You know, I started the company and it's just like you get a call and you're changing your whole life to accommodate that call, and you really want to play with your grandkids, but there's just so many pulls. There's constantly pulls. So I'm actually, since I went to your Loving Yourself workshop, I'm actually looking at how many things I have going on and what I need to maybe change so that I have time for self-love because I can't do it all. And as a woman and a mom, I think that we are set up to fail, so to speak, in that way because we're expected to do it all. You have to work, you have to be mom, you know, you help your parents, you help your kids, you babysit your grandkids. There's so much that you are expected to do. Sometimes you don't want to be bold and say, you know what, I just can't do this all. I'm one person. There's 24 hours in a day. I need to take time for my self-love. And so since I attended your workshop, I really am looking at the big picture. And I'm trying to scale down some of the things that maybe I don't need to be torn in all of these different directions. And reprioritizing what I need to stay healthy for me. So I appreciate that you taught us that in that class.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad. I think more people should take your classes.
Thank you.
So tell us about your classes. What are you offering now, and what type of classes do you offer, and you know, where can they find that information? Because I'm telling you, it is life-changing.
Thank you.
And it is hard work, but it really is going to change your life and the lives of those around you. So I really want to encourage people out there to find out from Maria what she's up to, what classes she's offering, and how to get a hold of her and make that call, because that's really the first step in this process.
So right now I'm offering a couple of different classes because I also offer classes on power presenting, you know, how to be a better presenter and public speaker. It's something that I'm really passionate about and I've been doing for a while. So a lot of people have been asking me to teach a class. So I finally sat down and I was able to quantify all that information and said yes. And it helps. It's really a confidence class, right? It helps you build your confidence so that you can recognize we're just people, and if I feel good about who I am and what I'm presenting and I'm prepared, then I'm better at delivering, right? So I'm teaching that class coming up. There's a Loving Yourself workshop, part 1 and part 2. The second part is about establishing core values and creating those standards. And then what are the questions that I have to ask myself to make sure, like you said, that I'm living with the right priorities, that I'm taking care of myself so I can keep doing the work that I'm called to do. So I can keep giving back. Because again, we all know someone who has worked themselves right into the ground. And then they're laying on their deathbed or they just had a heart attack and then they go, oh my gosh, I should have spent more time with my family. Oh, I wish I would have. And I don't want people to have to get to that place before they recognize that, right? just recently, over this past weekend, my mom invited me to our house for a dinner. And I looked at my schedule and I realized I had this 2-hour block to just sit with my daughter out of the entire Saturday. And I said, no, I'm not going to come. And she said, oh, well, I think you could squeeze it in. And I said, no, hear me. I love you. I'm not coming. Because I have to look at my day and recognize what's healthy for me. And if I go to appease you, I'm going to wear myself out. And then I'm not good to my daughter. Right? And she's my number one priority. So, no, thank you for understanding. And then she went, oh, okay. Because I think sometimes we have to get used to saying, no, thank you for understanding. I know my limits. And I know where I have to draw the line so that I can stay healthy and sane to keep doing the work that I want to do, right?
Exactly.
And when we do that enough, the people around us, because we teach people how to treat us, eventually they go, do you have time for this? And I say, no, I don't have time. And they say, okay, I'll catch you next time.
Yeah.
Right? Or they say, do you have to? Yes, I do. Oh, good. Okay. Can we put it on the schedule? Yes, we can. Because it's my time and I have to be smart about how I manage it to make sure that I'm providing myself with opportunities for self-love.
Yeah.
And to take care of myself
again. And that's
again.
the process I'm in right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important. And then in terms of events and workshops and things that are coming up, there's a lot going on. So I would recommend that people go to my website. It's www.mariamilagros.net, MariaMilagros.net. And if you go to the Join Me calendar, you can see everything that's coming up, and there are links for what's free, what you have to pay for, how to pay for them through Eventbrite and things like that. So there's a lot of stuff coming up. Also, if people are interested in doing one-on-one coaching.
I was just going to ask you, how do they get a hold of you for that? On your website too?
Yep, they can email me right through my website, or... And this might sound funny, but my email address for my company is Super Sparkly Everything. And it started off as like a joke between my daughter and I, because we realized that we want to live this super sparkly everything life, right? Glitter everywhere. And I said, but, there's work involved.
Right.
And you have to choose to live in that super sparkly everything life. And it started off because I just signed off my emails. Have a super sparkly day. And my sisters would make fun of me and my daughter would make fun of me. And then they started saying it. So then I realized super sparkly is not just something that you say for fun. It's something that could literally be in every area of your life. Super sparkly financial freedom. Yay. Super sparkly self-love, right? Super sparkly relationships. Super sparkly, and so on and so forth. So it just became like a really funny little thing.
So it's super sparkly.
Everything.
Everything dot.
At gmail.com.
At gmail.com. There you go. Well, this is awesome. Well, you know what? We could talk for hours.
Yes, we could.
I mean, and we literally have.
Yes.
We met for a meeting and it went on and on and on. I just love your energy.
Thank you.
And your message is incredible.
Thank you.
And there isn't one person that would not benefit from something that you have to say. So I encourage you definitely to check out Maria's website. And
thank you for having me. I just want to seriously hit the pause for a second and just say thank you. And thank you for doing this, because I think it's so important that people talk about the different aspects of health and all the different areas, because we have to take responsibility for our health.
Yes, we do.
Spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, all of it, in order to be our best selves. Because again, that's how you're able to do the work that you're called to do, and I'm able to do the work that I'm called to do.
Absolutely.
So thank you. And thank you for stepping out into the scary of starting your own business, because if not, I would never met you.
I know, and you too.
Yeah.
And you too.
So I'm super grateful for that.
I'm super sparkly grateful. So I like to leave the viewers with 3 key messages.
Yes.
And we have covered them, but I want you just to review those 3 key messages to self-love.
Yes.
Before we end our session.
So the 3 key messages are: 1, forgiveness. So you want to forgive others for the things that they've done that wronged you. And you can either write them down, burn that paper, tear it up. You can mail it, and just get it out of yourself. Or you can go to someone that you trust and just say it out loud. I also recommend that people do it in the mirror and just say in the mirror, so-and-so, whatever their name is, I forgive you for, and then very blatantly state what that thing is. And initially you're not going to feel that shift, but the more you do it, you're going to one day literally feel it leave you. And when you do, you're done with that. You can cross that thing off of your list.
So freeing.
Yeah. And then if you have the opportunity, like Scherrie did, to have closure, you can pursue that. If it's not safe and if your intent is not in the right place, don't do it, because it's not always the safest or healthiest means of dealing with that closure. The other thing in terms of freedom is that you want to make sure that you are forgiving yourself as well. Make a list of all the things that you feel like are weighing you down. Get in front of your mirror. I cannot talk about mirror work enough. And say to yourself, I forgive you, Maria, for, and then go through that list. And each and every one of those, I forgive you for, I forgive you for. And again, that shift will happen in you. You'll feel that shift. You cross that off of your list and you get to move on. The second thing is that you want to make sure that you're keeping a gratitude list, right? I always recommend that people have a gratitude log. Get a notebook. Go to Walmart, get a 50-cent notebook, and just start writing all the reasons you have to be grateful for. They can be these huge, grandiose ideas like love and world peace or whatever. Or they could be as simple as mascara and Q-tips, right? I love me some mascara and Q-tips. So write those things down. It's when we recognize the little and the big things that we have to be grateful for and spend more time focused on our blessings, our burdens don't overwhelm us. And then the third thing is affirmations. Please, 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 if you do nothing else, if the only thing you walk away from this with is affirmations, write your affirmations. I am statements that are present and that are positive words, and just read them over and over and over. You can find stuff online. You can find stuff on YouTube to get you started if you don't really know how. I have videos on YouTube that you can look at, and one of them is all about affirmations. You can watch that. So I teach you how to do affirmations. Do your affirmations, because we can transform our thoughts by transforming our words, and then transform our worlds by the very things that are coming out of our mouths. So those are the three things: forgive, gratitude, and affirmations.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And thank you, viewers, for tuning back in today. And Maria's information on her website and her contact information and any upcoming events you can find on her website. And we will also have a link to that. And if you go to my website, diabetescareconsulting.com, you will also find the link to all of these Talk Me Healthy shows and contact information on the guests. Tune in next month, where we will be focusing on the Greater Gardner Relay for Life. We will have Adam and Sheila as our guests. We will be sharing information about the relay and all of the events leading up to the relay and the weekend of the relay. We will talk about what it's like to live with cancer and the importance of cancer screening. So I look forward to seeing you then. And remember, live your best life every day, starting today. This is Scherrie Keating from Talk Me Healthy.